Welcome to Pasadena Monthly. I'm your host, Justin Chapman. After taking a look at what's been going on in Pasadena this past month, we'll speak with our guest, Michele Zack, former Altadena Town Councilmember and author of the book Altadena Between Wilderness and City. Let's turn first to our lightning round of news updates. 1. Pasadena City Council unanimously approved an optimized strategic plan to guide Pasadena Water and Power to achieve 100% carbon-free electricity by the end of 2030. The plan calls for optimizing for affordability, rate equity, stability, and reliability of electricity. To read the plan, visit pwpweb.com/OSP. 2. A California appeals court largely upheld Measure H, Pasadena's voter-approved rent control law, rejecting constitutional challenges brought by the California Apartment Association and individual landlords, who argued that the measure was an unlawful revision of Pasadena's charter rather than a simple amendment. The court ruled that Measure H was a lawful amendment to the city's charter and did not unlawfully restructure city government, but also struck down a Measure H provision requiring landlords to pay relocation assistance when tenants are displaced due to lawful rent increases, and invalidated a provision requiring landlords to provide additional notice beyond state law before initiating eviction proceedings for non-payment of rent. Measure H supporters urged the court to revisit its decision regarding the tenant relocation assistance requirement, but the court declined to do so. Pasadena Housing Providers, a landlord advocacy group, said it drafted a new charter amendment to revise Pasadena's rent control system. 3. Southern California Edison, which is facing nearly 1,000 lawsuits from survivors of the Eaton Fire and government agencies who claim SCE's equipment started the fire, is now suing a dozen of the agencies that sued it, including LA County Office of Emergency Management, Genesis, LA County Fire and Sheriff's Departments, Pasadena Water and Power, 5 other water agencies, and SoCal Gas. SCE alleges that those agencies' failures, such as not sending evacuation alerts to West Altadena until it was too late, also contributed to the deaths of 19 people and the destruction of more than 9,400 structures in the fire. Also, the EPA announced that it's changing course and will now test the soil of 100 properties in the Eaton Fire area. Soil sampling will be done at randomly selected properties and will be focused on testing for lead. A new UCLA study found that homes in the Altadena-Pasadena foothills continues to pose air quality risks to this day, potentially exposing residents to elevated levels of carcinogenic pollutants after returning home. And the state investigation into the fire, ordered by Pasadena Assemblymember John Harabedian, has officially begun to examine emergency preparedness and response across all agencies involved before, during, and after the fire. It's expected to take about a year. 4. Caltech's new president has been selected. Dr. Ray J. Awardana, an accomplished academic leader and renowned astrophysicist who currently serves as provost of Johns Hopkins University, has been named Caltech's 10th president in the Institute's 105-year history. He is a distinguished scientist from Sri Lanka whose work investigates the diversity, origins, and evolution of planets and planetary systems, as well as the formation of stars and brown dwarfs. He takes over on July 1st from Dr. Thomas Rosenbaum, who was recently a guest on this show. Check out that conversation from last August. 5. City Council approved moving forward with negotiations to develop a mixed-use affordable housing project on city-owned property at the former Kaiser Medical Building at the southeast corner of Lake Avenue and Villa Street, which has been vacant for more than a decade. Hollis Inc. and Heritage Housing Partners will pursue the redevelopment of the nearly 2.4-acre site, which was originally proposed as a joint community services and housing site with affordable housing and mental health care services between the city and the county, with each paying $6 million, but that deal ultimately fell apart. 6. The LA County Office of Education recently accepted Pasadena Unified School District's self-certification as fiscally sound, meaning the district will avoid intervention for now. However, county officials warned that the district must prove by March 16th that promised budget cuts are actually being implemented and submit an updated board-approved fiscal stabilization plan to address continuing deficit spending. 7. City Council adopted a formal anti-discrimination policy statement which will make discrimination in private employment, housing, education, and commerce a city offense. The proposed policy statement prohibits discrimination based on a wide range of actual or perceived characteristics, including race, color, ethnicity, creed, age, national origin, religion, citizenship or immigration status, gender, gender identity or expression, sexual orientation, disability, medical condition, genetic information, marital or partnership status, pregnancy or reproductive health choices, employment or housing status, source of income, military or veteran status, and primary language. 8. The Rose Bowl Operating Company announced the groundbreaking of the South End Zone Field Club, a $30 million strategic investment that includes new field-level premium seating and amenities. The project is expected to be completed by the start of the 2026 college football season. Featuring nearly 1,000 field-level seats and premium club and lodge boxes, enhanced hospitality spaces, and an outdoor patio, the project is part of the first phase of the Lasting Legacy Capital Campaign, a major years-long renovation project. 9. I'm sad to report that Christine Moore, founder and owner of Little Flower, a cafe on West Colorado Boulevard, passed away recently. She was 61. She was a renowned baker and cookbook author who worked in Paris and then under chef Nancy Silverton. She released 2 cookbooks, Little Flower, Recipes from a Cafe, and Little Flower Baking. She started Little Flower from her home kitchen, developing her signature sea salt caramels, and opened the cafe in 2007, featuring French pastries and seasonal fare. Little Flower quickly became the premier community gathering place for the San Rafael neighborhood. She opened another restaurant called Lincoln in 2016, which closed during the pandemic. She will be missed. And 10. Mayor Gordo will hold his annual State of the City address at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, January 28th at the Robinson Park Recreation Center, 1081 North Fair Oaks Avenue. The speech will launch the city's budget season and set the tone for the upcoming fiscal year, and will be live streamed at pasadenamedia.org/kpass. City Council held a budget workshop last month, and the mayor convened a budget advisory working group, which will meet weekly through the end of March to evaluate the city's financial condition and develop recommendations aimed at long-term fiscal sustainability. Let's welcome our guest, Michele Zack. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Justin, for having me.
Michele is a former Altadena Town Councilmember, and in fact, we served together on the Town Council about 20 years ago now. She's also the author of Altadena, Between Wilderness and City, which was recently republished. She's an award-winning historian, author, journalist, and former chair of Altadena Heritage. She lived in Thailand working as an Asia Week correspondent and was a regular contributor to Far Eastern Economic Review. She has written widely about Southeast Asia and worked as a speechwriter for 3 Thai prime ministers and other officials. So, Michele, thanks so much. Let me start by asking how you're doing. I know you lost your beautiful home on Marengo, and you wrote a really moving piece in the Star News about processing your grief and leaning on Buddhism and looking at things with perspective. So how are you doing, and what are your plans? You and Mark, are you planning to rebuild?
Well, we've just started. So, in fact, about almost exactly to the day, it was January 8th this year, a surveyor came out to do the preliminaries for rebuilding. Mm-hmm. And we didn't plan it that way, but it was a bit hair-raising. It was emotional to think that it was exactly 1 year later.
Right.
So I think, as I sort of expressed in the piece, that I'm a pretty in-the-moment sort of person, and I think that's helped a lot, because it's always here, it's always now. Looking back with regret, and I don't expect life to be without discomfort, and I don't believe in permanence. Mm-hmm. So all of those things, I think, have helped me greatly. I know a lot of people, everyone grieves in their own way, and that I know I'm not suffering as much as some other people, although I love my house as much as anybody.
Yeah. And how do things stand with Altadena as a whole? You've been very active in sort of the recovery movement.
Well, from about 2 or 3 days after the fire, my husband and I were already thinking about the rebuild, not just of houses, and that's obviously what has received 98% of all the attention, but the rebuild of the public spaces, civic spaces, open park infrastructure. These are the issues that have really interested us, and through Altadena Heritage and its current chair, Hans Alhoff, we've been working with Altadena Steadfast. I'm on the Eaton Fire Collaborative Rebuild Committee, on the Infrastructure Committee. So we've been, I'd say, very involved, and it's I don't know if it's just been a distraction, but I've never been busier. I've never been to so many meetings
Mhm.
in my life as in the past year.
You know, early on there were promises of expedited permitting from the county. Have those things panned out?
Personally, I can say pretty well. I mean, having never been on the receiving end of sort of government help,
Hmm.
it was somehow it made me very grateful that FEMA was there, that the one-stop center was there, all of these shell-shocked people, you know, walking in and getting their passports and driver's licenses and help with the SBA loan, which we required, and we had pretty good insurance, but almost everyone is underinsured. Um, I think people get a kind of a false idea about, I mean, it's for people who are suffering, that's their experience and it's real. But in all of Altadena, under 300 people were completely uninsured.
Mm.
A lot of people were underinsured.
Right.
And I think that there's been a lot of resources and a lot of public response to the people who are the most vulnerable, which is a great thing. So it's moving along, and there's been through Pasadena Community Foundation. I know they're rebuilding a bungalow court. My husband and I have both spoken to the Planning Commission of LA County, advocating for more of the missing middle in housing, allowing bungalow courts, perhaps in mixed use and even in R1 areas, finding ways. And I know the county is really interested in doing that because the goal is for everyone who lived in Altadena who wants to return to be able to return.
Right.
And so that's a lot of, maybe 20%, 25% of people were renters. And it's hard if you look at the rental market, it's very high.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely. I saw you were at Paul Ayers' talk the other night. I was there as well, and he was talking about what was lost in the fire, but also what survived, including the Owen Brown gravesite, which recently got a new historical designation, and you've put in a lot of effort over the years, over a long period of time, to preserve that site and to promote why it's important. So tell us about that.
Well, we are very grateful that the fire did not burn Owen Brown's gravesite.
Mm-hmm.
The fire department, not county or whatever, they did sort of shave the hill. They used it as a fire break, and they chopped down an oak tree that was shading one of our interpretive signs. But and those things all grow back.
Yeah.
And the most recent designation you mentioned, which is just a couple of weeks ago, we learned that our application had been accepted for the Owen Brown site to join the Network to Freedom, which is a National Park Service site. So we have a National Park Service site in Altadena now, and that connects us to more than 800 sites around the country. Almost all of them are in the south or the east, only a few in the west, that commemorate and celebrate the fight to end slavery in America. And so Owen Brown and his family, they were the most famous abolitionist family in the run-up to the Civil War. So that is very significant. And so the committee that I chair, and I want to give a shout out to my fellow committee members. We have John Burton from the Meadows, Marietta Cruels, the trail specialist, and Chris O'Malley from the town council, representing the town council. We have produced a film about Owen Brown called Owen Brown's Body that will be shared with classrooms. We're doing a professional development program. We'll be paying teachers to learn this content, and we've fitted in to the California standards. So we've aligned the film exactly with what teachers are supposed to be teaching at every different level, so that it's not like some extra we're throwing in. And so far we've had a lot of interest. PUSD has been a partner, and they're providing us a space to conduct the professional development. So yeah, that's the phase that we're in now, because we've already completed our goals, which were to get county designation as a landmark to get it into a conservancy. Now it's part of the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy, and then to get this designation from the National Park Service. And we've restored the site. We've added a couple benches. So now we're just working on the fun part for me, which is the educational component.
And if people want to visit, how do they get there?
They go to the top of El Prieto Road in the meadows of Altadena and just park, and there's a sign that directs them just up there's a public access that was established through Paul Ayers, a lawsuit in 2006.
I remember that.
It's taken a long time, but now so we have a legal way to for the public to access the site. It's a beautiful site. It's a pilgrimage site. It's a site to just really contemplate what people working toward a goal, a righteous goal, can contribute, what they can achieve, even if it takes a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for your efforts on that. And so your excellent book about Altadena has recently been republished by Altadena Historical Society. It was kind of hard to find for a few years, right? But there's been renewed interest. Was the decision to reissue it made before or after the fire?
Well, I think it was made after the fire. For years, it's been out of print for more than maybe 15 years. And you could get it, but you'd go on Amazon, and one day it would be $800, another day $500. I would tell people anything under $200, grab it.
Yeah.
So now I'm really very grateful that the Historical Society has published it again, and you can order the book through the Historical Society. That's sort of the best way. Then they get to keep all the money.
Sure.
And it's also available at Romans, and you can order it online. You can have it mailed. You can go up and pick it up at the Altadena Historical Society up on Altadena Drive.
And it's mostly the same material from the earlier edition.
Yes,
right?
It's considered a facsimile, but they've added a little front and back matter. There's some stunning images from the fire. I've written a new author's note. And we're just kind of getting the word out. I'm speaking of that on February 16th. I will be at Romans.
Oh, great.
With Michele Zack, who's another Altadena author. She's a novelist and who also lost her home, and she's a very old friend of mine. We met at John Muir High School, and we're going to have an in-conversation. And then we're having something later the following month at the Pasadena Museum of History.
Oh, great.
So we're trying to roll it out and have as many opportunities to share stories about the book and make it available through the Altadena Historical Society.
And it goes up to about 2004, so when it was first.
Yes.
Have you thought about doing a second edition from the past half century? I mean, a quarter century, and now after the fire.
Well, I'm actually going in the other direction. I'm involved in. I was really working very hard on it. I've kind of lost the thread, but I'm picking it up again. I'm right now writing a historical novel actually based on Benjamin Eaton, who was the fellow who brought water sources. But I'm going back even further before he established Altadena to when he came to Los Angeles before the Civil War. And his I'm very interested in tying California and the West as a cause of the Civil War. And it's really very complicated. So I finally decided to try to write it through the lens of one person. And it's been necessary to fictionalize a little bit, but he's a real person, and I've put in a lot of research on that.
It's kind of unfortunate that his name is associated with the fire when he did so much to bring water into the area.
I know it is, and people know Eaton Canyon, and now they know the Eaton Fire, but nobody knows who Benjamin Eaton is. And in his own right, he was an incredible polymath, a Harvard lawyer, water engineer, a very innovative farmer and agriculturalist. So I'm bringing him to life. I've been interested in him for more than 20 years.
Well, I remember there was a short film made, Eaton's Water,
right,
based on
a short story I wrote.
Yeah.
Right, this has been a long time interest of mine.
Yeah. Well, that's great. And you mentioned some upcoming book events, and where can people learn more about your work?
Gosh, They can Google me. I don't have a website. I had a website for years, but a lot of my writing has been in Altadena Heritage newsletters. And for people who are interested in Altadena issues, Altadena history, besides there's the Altadena Historical Society, and there's also an archive of newsletters that Altadena Heritage has, they're just online, they're free, and follow as far as Altadena issues like infrastructure, musicians, artists, planning, building. I would really recommend the Altadena Heritage website.
Great. Well, the book is Altadena, Between Wilderness and City. Michele, so good to see you. Thanks so much for everything you've done for Altadena. And
all these years, you were the youngest person, I think, ever on the Altadena Town Council.
19 years old. Before we go, here's this month in Pasadena history. It was this month in 1911 when the comical Knights of the Carnival, all spelled with K's, held their own funny parade that followed the Rose Parade and chariot races in the early years of the parade. This was essentially the forerunner to the Doodah Parade. The similarities between the two are striking, if coincidental. The comical Knights started as the Pasadena City Band and appeared after the 1911 and 1912 Rose Parades only. Like the Rose Parade and the Doodah Parade, the Comical Knights Parade also had royalty. Queen Carmencita and King Kidder I and his court of jesters, all spelled with K's. The first King Kidder was Dr. Ralph Skillen, who was also the Grand Marshal of the Rose Parade that year. The Tournament of Roses offered, quote, every possible assistance to the Knights and cooperated with them wherever and whenever possible, according to newspaper reports from the time, including by providing 2 brass bands to the Knights to help them in their entertainment. Their parade started at Carmelita Playgrounds at the northeast corner of Colorado Street and Orange Grove Avenue and moved east across Colorado to Los Robles Avenue. A countermarch then returned to Raymond Avenue, headed north to Holly Street, west to Fair Oaks Avenue, south to Colorado Street, east to Raymond Avenue, south to Hotel Green, around through Central Park to Fair Oaks Avenue, north to Colorado, then west back to Carmelita. Their parade included floats with stages on them, as well as horse riders and bands. The Knights' procession featured acts such as burlesque on the police department, a platoon of carnival police, which they said was, quote, a big improvement on the regular force. The Pasadena Fire Department, the Soft Pedal Band, which made no noise, the Cauldron Club, which boiled fellow members in a huge pot on top of their float, a float devoted to women's suffrage, on which women waved banners at the front while their husbands sat in the back doing dishes and other household chores, the Hobble Skirt Brigade, the Rube Band, Blind Pig Arrest, which featured a papier-mâché pig surrounded by beer and whiskey bottles, Goddess of Plenty, which featured an elderly woman with a shoe full of kids, a parody of Charles Darwin's missing link theory featuring someone in an ape costume called Trimming of the Long Hairs, Military Awkward Squad with comical songs, minstrels, stilt stunt, baby parade, a float of Pasadena bells, a company of tin soldiers, and some decidedly non-PC acts called Chinese Laundry and Burlesque Indians and Cowboys. The Comical Knights were organized by people who, quote, believed that life should not be one continuous round of sadness and disappointment. The motto of the club was, laugh and the world laughs with you, weep and you weep alone. The Comical Knights also used to host 4th of July celebrations and fireworks displays at Tournament Park, which were attended by thousands of people. The group grew out of a mass meeting held in the Pasadena Board of Trade Rooms, then on West Colorado Street, on the evening of November 22, 1910. Membership grew to nearly 900 people. Arthur Wyatt was the inaugural president of the organization, which considered nearly 100 names before landing on the Comical Knights of the Carnival. They later held meetings at the Salvation Army Hall next door to the Board of Trade. 12 years later, in 1922, the Comical Knights of the Carnival launched a campaign to rename themselves and offered a $25 prize to the person who suggested the winning name. This was likely due to the fact that the initials unfortunately spelled KKK. Soon after, the organization went out of business. It would be another 6 decades before the Doodah Parade took up the mantle of the Silly Parade in Pasadena. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Pasadena Monthly. Tune in every 4th Friday of the month at 5 p.m. Learn more at pasadenamedia.org and justindouglaschapman.com. We'll see you next time.